Welcome back to Sunshine and Whiskey and another episode. It's been a little while, so thanks for your patience with me getting back. I have to say tonight, I have somebody that I've been following for a little while now on LinkedIn. So I'm not sure how many people out there are on the LinkedIn platform, but it's a career and job and networking and connection site, whether you're recruiting or you're looking for people to hire yourself. It's become a phenomenal platform for, just lifting people up, inspiring people, everything from corporations to small businesses. It's just something that I've really started to enjoy. And with that, I've started to watch this young lady just move and shake things up on LinkedIn. She is considered the LinkedIn hype woman. She is started live feeds, live connections, doing inspiration, leadership for helping people crank up their leadership to level 21. And when you see her graphics and when you see her speak, you just feed off of her energy, and she's so much fun. So I've been watching her for the last little while. I decided to reach out to her and see if she'd join me on the show, share a little bit of her background and what brought her into LinkedIn and where she is going. She's just going to school full time. She is in a relationship. She's always on LinkedIn, and she has some amazing information and amazing stuff for those of us. So let's bring her on and let's have some good conversations with Samantha Sierra.
Ooh,
hello. Hi.
I love that. Hi.
That actually worked pretty good. I'm kind of impressed. It didn't go too bad.
You got this.
I got this. Yes. Samantha, do you go by Sam or Samantha?
Sam is fine.
Okay, good. I was thinking that this afternoon. I'm like, geez, I didn't even get a chance to reach out to her and see, hey, what do you want me to call you?
You know what? You've been going through some stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me so late. You are out in New York.
I am.
Yeah. How is New York home?
New York is home. So I actually grew up in New York. And then when I want to say 8 or 9, I moved out to Virginia and then moved back to New York and then back to Virginia and then back to New York and back to Virginia and back to, so I kind of play ping pong between New York and Virginia. But we've been here for, like 15 years now back.
Wow.
And it's home.
You sound like me. I bounced around my entire life, and then I moved to Alberta, where I am now, into Lloydminster, and I said, I'm going to stay here for 6 months, and then I'm leaving. And you know what? It's been over 25 years. It's time just goes crazy. It's
totally
nuts. It's nuts. Sam, I want to get into this because there's a lot I want to share with and talk to you tonight. I've been following you around on LinkedIn. You just came out of nowhere. You just exploded as far as I'm concerned. It was like you shot out of a cannon, you knew what you wanted to do, and you just went with it. And since then, every day I'm watching you and I'm like, okay, she's doing this now and she's doing this now and she's talking about this, and you're bringing people onto live feeds, and you call them connecting connections, I think. Connecting connections on LinkedIn.
Yep.
That's one of them. And crank up the leadership.
Yep.
So you know what? Let's jump into a little bit of there. Tell me how you got started into LinkedIn. Awesome. And yeah.
Oh gosh. All right. So I have the typical LinkedIn story. I started with the platform. I want to say in like May or June of 2020. And it was because a friend of mine was like, I got this great job and I didn't have to do anything. I just had my resume on LinkedIn and they found me. And I was like, that's incredible. That's all I have to do. I just have to put my thing on resume. Fine. Throw it on there. And I didn't touch it. I didn't network. I didn't do anything. And then I decided, I don't know why I decided it, but probably because I'm so goal oriented, but I decided to go back to school. And I did that in October of 21. And I was like, you know what? We started talking in one of the classes about being visible on LinkedIn and using it as a way to be able to network yourself and be able to get a successful career after you graduate from college. And I started it, and I really didn't do anything with it again, because I didn't like, I've never been a social media person at all.
Yeah.
Like Facebook, Instagram, like none of it. And um, I went on the platform, and I've been kind of playing for the past 9 months. So in August of last year, that's when I really decided, you know what, let me really give LinkedIn a legitimate chance. Let's see what opportunities come about. Let's see, what potential there is out there. And that was back in August. And for the past 9 months, I've just kind of been playing, right? I've been building a community and meeting incredible people. And um one of the people that I had come across with, and he's now become a dear friend. His name is Adam. And I struggle a lot with self-doubt and self-worth and valuing myself and things like that. And Adam knew very, very little bit, because I had said, I had been through some stuff in my past when I was younger, and I had my first one when I was 17. So I was doubting myself, and he called me out in the most loving way possible. He's like, you need to stop doubting yourself. You have a strong story, and you should lean into that. He had no idea what was underneath the surface. And he inspired me to just take a leap of faith and live authentically and put my story out there and try to help as many people as possible realize, and I say it all the time, it's actually on my LinkedIn banner, like, your past doesn't define you. You do. So now I found my hominixes, and I've rebranded, and who knows what the future has, but I'm excited for it.
You have big things. I can relate to your story a little bit. I had my first one when I was 20, not to your whole story, but the same thing.
Mhm.
History goes down and things happen, and pretty soon you end up, yeah, as a mom. And whether or not you know what, it's hard, and you take it as you can, and you struggle with it, and you go
Mhm.
through it, and at the end of the day, there's gifts at everything that happens. And I love how
Mhm.
your past doesn't define you, and you're definitely showing that. And I love how you said your goal setting, you're goal oriented, and that's what you're driving for. Never been on social
Mhm.
media, which I think is it's such a gift in itself to be able to say that anymore. Because I think sometimes people are way too much
I
on
know.
social media. I mean, it has its pluses, right? There's some pros and
Yeah,
cons to it. And
it
when
does.
I first got back on LinkedIn, I I was like, okay, I had gone on it years ago, same as you, kind of looking, work wise, and then taken the
Yep.
hiatus from it, got back on. I'm like, okay, this isn't even the same LinkedIn that it was
It's
5
totally
years.
different.
Yeah, it is its own. At first, I was like, "Is this just like a adult business Facebook?" It kind of seems dramatical now. And then I gave it some
Mhm.
time, and I started doing some connecting and networking, and met a few people, like you said. And then I have to say, I found you, and you're so refreshing. You're so refreshing. I need to know, I guess,
Oh,
I
thanks.
watched a couple. I joined one of your I think I want to go with it. It was Connect a Connection one night. You went live, and everybody joins in, and it was very interactive and stuff. And you did talk about a bit about your
Oh,
past on
that's
there.
that's Crank Up the Leadership.
That's Crank Up the Leadership. Was it? It was in
That's
the
Crank Up
I
the
thought
Lead.
was that Crank?
This past Thursday, on May the 4th, because we were like, "Oh, May the 4th be with you."
Yeah. Well, you have so many. Tell me about a few of them that you're doing. What are some different things that you are doing on LinkedIn right now with it? Because you have a couple of different things on the go.
I do.
Do
I'm a mover and a shaker. I like to do a lot of
Yeah.
things, and um, community is really important, I think. And one of the things that I love about LinkedIn, and the thing that I appreciate most, is the people that I've met here. And I'm not sure if you know Trevor Van Warden. He created a show last year, actually. It was called The Hotness Unleashers. And the
Yes.
entire premise of the show is to call out people and recognize their work in an intentional way. And he had brought a guest on, and it was one of the first ones that I watched live. And I instantly knew that I needed to connect with that person because I could feel their authenticity. But they were calling out 3 people that they thought should be a hotness unleasher. So I didn't get to know about them. And I craved that. Like, I wanted to know who was that person that I was seeing, that I had that connection with, that was out there calling people out in an intentional way, because I just think that's amazing for people to do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my own version of it, and I'm just going to call out one person and get to know their story, what they do, what they enjoy, or whatever. And all of our conversations are they're all different. I have people who are trainers and people who are project managers and program managers and everything, stay-at-home dads. Their stories are absolutely incredible, and to have those conversations, that's my connecting connections. They're hosted on Saturdays. They're audio events, which
Yeah.
I love. So I love both.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of a difference. So with the audio event, those are not recorded. There's no playback available. You go in, you're in an audio room, no video, no nothing. And the conversation, it's like Vegas, right? Whatever happens there stays there.
Yeah. So
So
that's interesting.
yeah. And I really like those conversations because I feel like it's kind of a safe space, I
Yeah.
feel, because people can go and speak their truth and have conversations and talk about things without fear of, somebody seeing it or hearing it or whatever. It's just that block of an hour time, and then it goes away, and whoever was in the room heard it, and whoever was not in the room will never know about it. So I really do love those aspects. But in some ways, I wish they were recorded because the conversations I have are so incredible, and I deserve to be told. I have 2 more of those shows. So tomorrow I'm hosting one, and then next week is the last one, and then I decided I'm going to go on hiatus. I live on an island. I live on this beautiful island, and I want to enjoy it. So I'm reclaiming my Saturdays.
Yes. Good for you. And
Yeah.
I think we should do that more often. I want to back up. I want you to tell me a little bit more about the audio one. So it's almost like a community getting together on the back end and having their own offside
Conversation.
session. It's a conversation together with,
Yep.
and you know what? I like how you went with it, going, there's no fear. It's a safe space. Because sometimes when we're being recorded, you're pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, you kind of,
You
what
have
am
to
I
be,
saying? Who's going to
yeah.
hear it? Yeah.
And it's okay. I mean, you can have people like you and I, and I'm not even sure on your side, but I mean, you'll usually online, you're only going to go so far. I have friends that no problem. They
Yeah.
come on and I'll have a podcast and we'll get right deep, and you kind of get off and you go, oh yeah, that was a podcast. You kind of forget that you were even doing a podcast or doing a live show. And those are the good times. Those are some really good conversations. But I think it's very valuable for something like you're doing to have that place for other people to come in, have those conversations, like you said, get vulnerable, get real, feel safe, and and still have somebody to talk to. So good for you. I like that.
And then the other thing about them is, because it's an audio event, there's no video, there's no maximum people who can be in the room, and people can join in on the stage. So people can raise their hand. There's a little icon to raise your hand. I pull them up, and now they're also part of the conversation. So you can easily go from just watching it to being a participant. And that's incredible because so one of my last shows, one of the last conversations with Connecting Connections, this 17-year-old girl came on, and she was telling her story, and she moved from her country, and she's in school, and she's scared, and she's in a new country. She doesn't know what she's doing, like all of these things. And I instantly was taken back to being 17 and pregnant and so unsure of what the future held. And I went all like motivational speaker, and I stood on a platform, and like, it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what situations you have, what past you have. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. You can change your life. You have that power. And to be 17, like, so now she has a mentor, and he's pretty incredible. So fingers crossed.
You're so wise. I just love I love how you speak and how energetic you are about it, and how many people that you are helping. And it's true, your past does not define you. And you know what? Sometimes it's, you know what, when you're 17 and those kind of things happen in 19 and 20, let alone without going through any of those stuff, it's a challenging time as it is just to go through normal living without finding my goodness, like some of the stuff you don't find out until your 40s and your 50s, and you're looking back going, well, I wish I had those tools now, you know, or then like I had now. I look back on raising my boys as a single mom and some of the things that, you know, that I did, and you carry that guilt, and then you realize that, you know what, you were doing the best you could. You had the tools that you could have, and you had to go, you know, you had to start somewhere and move forward and progress. And people forget just to have some compassion for themselves. It's so easy for us to have compassion for others and see how well they're doing, and forget to remind ourselves that we are too. We're doing as much as we can. Do you want to go? I would love to go back there and tell me a little bit of your story of getting here, because I know you have a really powerful history, and I'd like you to share a little bit if you don't mind.
Not at all. So growing up, I had the typical normal childhood, right? My mom and my dad. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings, and my parents went through a rough patch, and they eventually ended up getting divorced. I was around 12, and I was the oldest, and my parents had always instilled in me, be a good role model, be a good role model, be a good role model. So when mom wasn't in the picture anymore, I said, well, I need to step up and be a role model. So I was helping them with, you know, homework, and I was helping my father cook, and I was writing out the checks for the bills every month, and learning all these things, and learning budgeting, and really running a household at 12, 13 years old. And then I went, and my mom ended up moving to Virginia. So my dad was in New York, my mom moved to Virginia, and she was there for a while. And I decided to go down there to go visit, and ended up never going home. So I was there for probably a year or so. From there, sorry, my husband's leaving, so I know you can edit this. I know you can edit this, so I'm going to go back a little bit.
So good. I like to keep things real.
So when I had moved down to Virginia, and then I ended up staying there, and I went through some trauma there. I had an ex-boyfriend who was bad. And actually, you know, let's back up even a little bit more. When I first moved down with my mom, they were living in a motel, and there were, you know, drug addicts all over, and that's what I saw and what I was around. And I think that is where a lot of compassion for people who are at their lowest comes from, because I saw it, I witnessed it, I heard their stories, I heard their struggles, and really empathized with the people, because I knew them also as people, right? They weren't just some drug addicts on a stoop, they were people. And from there, we moved to a different place. And my mom's ex-husband, well, he was her as a husband, but ex-husband now was a very abusive, physically, emotionally, psychologically. It was bad. And the emotional toll it took on me to see my mom being berated, belittled, talked down to, cursed at, called, can I curse on your show?
Yeah, of course, can. Yeah.
Called a
It's
fucking
got freaking
bitch and
whiskey
like
in it. You can swear.
yes. um like all of these terrible things, and she just let it happen.
Mm.
And she would fight back, she would argue and they would fight and it would get nasty, and then I would take my little sister and we would go in the room and protect her Sam.
Yeah.
Eventually it got to the point where it was completely unhealthy. My mom dealt with mental health struggles and PTSD, and they initially diagnosed her as bipolar, but they found out later on that it was just PTSD that she wasn't like handling. She wasn't dealing with it. She wasn't going through therapy or none of these things. And about 18 years ago now, she tried to commit suicide. She overdosed on like 2 bottles of completely refilled prescriptions. And I was getting ready for work. She always took me to work. I worked night shifts overnight. And she came into my room and she handed me the keys. I'm like in the middle of getting ready. I'm, brushing my hair and trying to get everything rushed to go walk out the door. And she's like, here, just take the keys and you can go to work. I'm like, okay, just leave them. And I grab the keys. I finish getting ready to walk out the door. And it hits me like, Mom never lets me take the keys. She had my little sister there, my younger brother. She had my son there. She always wanted that car because just in case something happened, she wanted to be able to have reliable transportation. I literally had my hand on the door ready to walk out when it hit me. Like, this isn't normal. And I turn around and she's standing in like the foyer area. And I'm like, why are you letting me take the keys to work? Like, why are you letting me take the car? Oh, it's fine. You're fine. Like, no, you never let me do this. And I see her, she's like leaning against the wall and like, yeah, something, what's going on? Like, you're not feeling well. And she's like, I'm fine. And I hear her like slurring her words. And I'm like, you're not fine. She's like, I just took some medicine. Well, what kind of medicine? Then we go into this thing and I realize she didn't take some medicine. She took all the medicine. And it hit. If I would have just walked out that door, like, she would have just fell asleep. She would have just fell asleep and I would have came home. She would have been, or who knows? It could have been my sister. It could have been my brother. It could have been my son. Like, it was tough. It was really tough. So I called 911. We get her there. And I remember the doctor coming out and saying that I should be proud of myself. I should be proud of myself for calling 911 to be able to get my mom the help that she needed, because had I waited longer, they wouldn't have been able to do everything they needed to do. They wouldn't have been able to save her. She ended up in ICU for the next couple of days, intubated, life support, all that stuff. And I took a picture of her like that. And when she woke up and she was able to understand what was happening, I showed her the picture and I told her if she ever did this again, like I wouldn't be there for her. I wasn't going to do that. I couldn't physically and emotionally do that again. So the next month, 30 days, she spent in a mental institution. And I went up there and I visited with her regularly. And I talked to the people who, talk to themselves and, made friends with people who were dealing with depression and had really interesting conversations with people whose mind just works so absolutely beautifully. And I kind of missed being able to visit with them when she came home because I had built relationships over that month of being able to go and see mom and all of my new friends. So after that, eventually I ended up moving back home, back to New York. And somewhere in between that area, I ended up meeting my husband. I met my husband, his name is Tommy. I was 16. And I was actually still technically in a relationship. It was one of those open relationships because, my ex was not a good guy. I'm just going to call it like it is. and he gaslit me and he completely made me feel like I was absolutely worthless. He would hold my hand in public, and then the moment that people left, he would like throw it away in disgust. Or if we were out or if we were going out somewhere, was, why are you wearing makeup? You look like a whore. I don't like your hair like that. You should wear it like this. And all of these things, all of these, negative comments about me, about my body, about how I looked, how I dressed, how I acted, how I spoke. He even changed my name. Like, he didn't call me Samantha. He called me by my middle name. He called me Marie. Like, all of these things was just like absolute control. And I fed into it because I had seen my mom go through that, right? I had witnessed mom go through the psychological nonsense and being abused and all of this thing, and I thought it was normal. So when I met my husband, he completely changed the way that I view the world. He found me when I was absolutely broken, completely shattered. And he sat there and he pieced me back together. And then I fell apart again. And he pieced me back together. And then I fell apart again. And every time he would piece me back together little by little, and I would get stronger and stronger and stronger. And now I'm a fucking badass.
Yes, yes, you are. Oh my God, yes, you are. That's
and now
a story.
Now I just want to do. Now I found I was in such a dark place for such a long time. And now I'm not anymore. I know what positivity means. I know what it means to be optimistic, and I have a positive mindset and all of these things. And it literally changed my life. So now whatever happened in my past happened, right? I can talk about it. I can tell stories about it, and I can engage in conversations about it without being triggered anymore, which feels really good to be able to do. And now I just want others to know that they can do it too. Like, change your mindset, change your life. That's what it's all about.
Write the ending to your own story.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And I actually had a connection say, "Oh, she's you're writing a new book." No. Same book.
Keep
New
your
chapter.
book. Yes.
New chapter.
Because
I don't want to leave all those lessons.
Exactly.
I learned.
Exactly. And those are amazing. Like, my heart breaks because, I mean, you never want anybody to go through all, there's much better ways to spend our childhoods and our teenage years and stuff. But I do believe that everybody is, we're in places for a reason. We're in situations for a reason. We're there. I mean, your mom, how blessed are you and her for her to have had you? and had
Mhm.
your strength that you had to be able to see her through and to be able to support her and your siblings. And
Mhm.
you know what? For her to be able to come out of it as well and be strong enough to go and find that help that she needed as well, you know. And now I look at you and I just think this is why. This is why, you know, things happen in our past and why we go through the things that we do. As hard as they are, there's a reason why. And, you know, like you said, you're a badass mother now, right? You are spreading the word. You are showing other people that even though things happen in your life, it doesn't define you. It doesn't mean that you can't flip the switch. And you know what? I'd love to go back to trigger points, because
Ooh.
you know, we were just talking about it today, and I can't tell you, Sam, how many pieces of your story that I can relate to. It's almost like I'm listening. I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah. And that's not even half of it. Those are like, it feels weird calling them the highlights because they're definitely not high.
Those are the easy pieces. Those are the
Yeah.
easy pieces,
Oh,
Glenn.
those are the big chunks. Those,
Yeah.
those are the tips of the iceberg. There's so much more underneath.
Maybe someday you will be writing a story. You never know
I
what's coming up
I
next.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. We were talking about triggers, and I would like to know with yourself now. I want to get back to the LinkedIn, but this piece of you is so big and so bright, and it's just going to keep going that direction. So there's a piece of me right now that I'm so excited to get this piece of you and to be able to share a piece of the growth that you're going to have. And in a few months, in a few years, when you get going on your new career that you're just finishing, that I can actually go, man, I got to speak to her, and I can't wait to talk to you again in the future and see, oh my goodness, how many amazing things you have done by at that point. But let's talk about triggers, because I would love to know, going through all of those things and your wisdom that you are now, and you're so young yet, how do you deal with it? What's your piece? What's your tools? What do you got in your toolbox to kind of get you through those tough days? And you know, I seen a very, very wise post that you had on one day, and you were very clear, and I thought, oh my God, she just impresses me all the time. But you were talking about you were having a shitty day. Your
Yeah.
day wasn't good. You're
That's
having a
fine.
crap day. I don't need anybody to tell me that it's going to be better tomorrow and, you know, wake up on the bright side. I'm just saying, here's a shitty day. I'm having one. We all have them.
Yep.
And let's, you know, and let's be okay to talk about it. So, yeah, do you mind? Let's go into that a little bit. Share with me on that. What do you do with
Yeah.
triggers? How are you dealing? What's in your toolbox?
So, the biggest one for me is acknowledgement, right? I am I have worked several years on being able to identify my emotions. So many people are unable to articulate how they feel. How many times, oh, how does it make you feel? Oh, well, I'm not really sure how to describe it, or I'm not really sure how to put into words how I feel. I sat with that and I identified and I started naming my emotions and learning what they are, because they're different, right? There's even when you're frustrated, right? There's anger, there's frustration, there's rage, there's just regular mad. They're all different though.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with positive emotion. Is it joy? Is it happiness? Is it elation? Am I excited? Like, what are all the emotions and what do they feel like and why do I feel them? What brings them on? So, when I start having those negative emotions, when I start feeling, confused or scatterbrained, or when my I have a lot of racing thoughts, when I start having anxiety, um, what are they? Sit with them, identify them. Then what made me start feeling this way? Sometimes I just have an off day. Sometimes I just wake up in a crappy mood and it is what it is. And I'm going to acknowledge that I'm in a crappy mood and it's fine because tomorrow's going to be better. But when I have those emotions and my day is fine, like if they just come out of the blue, then I go outside, I breathe. I'm a big believer in the superhuman pose, right? So I do the Wonder Woman pose. I'll just stand
Yep.
there, chest up, arms back, nope, hands on the hips,
Oh,
head
yes.
nice and high, and just stretch out nice and tall, and really feel that power in the pose. And I'll just breathe, and I'll remind. And if something frustrated me, like if I had something one day where somebody threw something on my desk and then stormed out, and I was so frustrated, and then I went to go chase after them, like, who do you think you are? But that's not gonna help the situation, right?
Right. Right.
So instead of going right and following him, I went left and I went outside, and I stood there in the superhuman pose, and I'm going, I will not let him control my emotions. I will not let anybody control my emotions. I will not let anybody control my emotions. And as I'm saying this to myself, it clicks that I'm outside, standing in a superhuman pose, pissed off,
Yes.
telling myself that nobody's going to control my emotions. And I'm like, he's literally controlling my emotions. So I chuckled it off and I went back inside.
That is a fabulous tool, though, because that's exactly what so many people don't understand how to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're standing outside in the fresh air and you're having to say back these mannerisms to yourself and remind yourself, that's exactly what a person should be doing. It's learning to, I've taken the last couple of years to learning on how to respond instead of react. and
Ooh.
and that is a big one, is that, what, my trigger ones where I would get frustrated because I would be in it
Yes.
before I realized I was in it. And then,
Yep.
like you said, you don't know the feelings. I'm just mad. I'm in rage. I'm all of it. I'm all of
Yeah.
it.
All of
And
it.
yeah. And then it's not until you get your break and you walk out or they leave or something happens that you get to recycle it in your head. And you're like, where did all my tools go? Where's all those things that I learned? And I talked to myself about 3 days ago. Where the hell did they go? Like, did
Where
they
were
just
they in the moment?
so it is. And so many people don't understand that. And they don't, you know what, you have, like you said, there's a bucket of emotions and people know 5 words. I'm mad,
Yes.
I'm sad, I'm hungry, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And to dig into it and stop and
Mhm.
listen to yourself long enough and sit with it. And I think
Yes.
that is something that people are, I don't know if it's my group, but a lot of people are learning to sit with
Mm-hmm.
it and understand that true feeling. When you're mad,
Yeah.
what are you mad about? What is it and where is it coming from? Just like you said, you amaze me, the stuff that you have got coming from you. It's fantastic. Fantastic stuff. It's impressive. Let's talk a
It
little
takes
bit.
work.
Sorry, it is work, and
It
sometimes
is.
people aren't willing to put in the work.
See, that's the part that's so frustrating, because you can go to work and work 8 hours for somebody else. Why can't you do it for yourself? Why
Yeah,
can't you put in that self-development to say, I deserve to be happy, and I'm going to figure out whatever the hell it takes to be happy, and sit
and
with
not
it.
somebody else, and not
Yeah.
somebody else.
You have to
It
create it
is
from within.
it is about yourself. Yeah, and and so true. I mean, we're willing to go to work. We're willing to do it for our kids. We're willing to do it for somebody that we met on a Friday night and be able to be like, yeah, I'm all this. And yet we truly don't even know ourselves. We haven't sat long enough with ourselves. We have things from our past that we literally have shoved them under rugs and carpets and just went, I'm good. And then wonder why, when we're, a couple years and into different relationships, or we have children, why all of a sudden this domino effect is coming out, and why in our own children we're seeing our own behaviors.
Yeah.
And you can't blame it on your mom anymore. It is now, I am now my mom, or those kind of, and you
It's so
have
true. So true. I remember growing up thinking, I'm never going to be like my mom. And now I'm like, I'm just like my mom.
Yeah, but with better, you know what? I always say we grow. I love
We
being
do grow.
like my mom, but I think I have to. I would, if I can speak in her words, I'm honored to be her, and I think she would look at me and go, I'm sure she would wish that she had the tools
Mm-hmm.
and stuff that I have now, because you know what? Again, I know she has mom guilt for
Yeah,
raising us, and you know, at each level, we all go through our own things, and we all do the best
totally.
we can. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And, part of my story, my mom's suicide, her mental health struggles, the domestic violence, all that kind of stuff. It's not only my story. So, um, I had never talked to my mom about this stuff. It was always like that elephant in the room that I was just like, oh, okay, excuse me. I'm just gonna, excuse me. Yeah, it was just something nobody ever discussed. She tried to commit suicide and then she came home and everybody just went about normal life. And it was never something that we really wanted to dig into. I'm not really even sure why. Probably just because it's a really difficult subject.
Mhm.
Um, and I think also, I part of me didn't want to hurt my mom. Right? I
Right.
didn't want to make her remember the things that she went through. I didn't want to make her um, re-traumatized by the things. So when Adam had told me, I have a story and I should be telling it, I realized it's not only my story, it's my mom's story too. And I reached out to her and had that conversation that we should have had, 19 years ago, 18 years ago. And it was hard. It definitely wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, but it, I felt like it closed a door that I didn't even realize was still open. And it was incredible to be able to talk to her about it. And it's scary when you put yourself out there authentically, when you
Mm.
when you tell your own stories. To have your story in somebody else's hand is also terrifying. So I am so proud of my mom for being able to say, um, yeah, you tell my story, talk about it, it's fine. I have so much admiration for her because she can do that now. She's also not afraid to tell her story. She no longer lets her past define her. She now wants to help others move forward in their lives. And she's perfectly fine with me telling her story so that others can do it. And the trust that she has to have in me to be able to do that, it's not something I take lightly.
You just bring tears to my eyes. I think this is so fitting that it's Mother's Day coming up and you're paying such huge tribute to
Yeah,
your mom. And you know what?
it was strong.
You have one son?
I have two.
You have two now.
Yep,
Well,
I have two.
how amazing. They don't even know how lucky they are right now for the growth that you've had and who you are coming to raise them. I don't even know you, and I feel like your soul is impressive. You're going to reach so many people,
Thanks.
and you're going to touch many lives. And so
I
I am
hope.
so
I
happy
just
that
want to
the
move the
universe.
needle.
You sorry?
I just want to move the
Move
needle.
the needle. That's exactly it.
That's
That's
it.
exactly it. If you had one thing that you can share with other people right now, what's a piece of advice if you were to go back to somebody who is 17 and is struggling with, just finding their place in their home and dealing with maybe parents with mental illness or divorce or just any of
Mhm.
it? What's I guess a piece that you would like to share with them?
Find somebody to share your story with. Oftentimes, when I was going through it, it was it was very isolating. I was absolutely terrified to talk to friends about it. I didn't want to share anything. Um, I didn't even. I just put on a mask. Everything is fine, and I can get through this, and everything is just perfectly normal. So nobody really knew what was happening at home. And I think that that held me back for a long time because it kept me isolated. It kept me in the dark. And your brain can do absolutely vicious things to itself. Like it can be so incredibly cruel and heartless, and it plays the most like mind games. It's not even funny. And I got dark and I got deep, and suicide was something I I never attempted, but it was definitely something I thought of. And one of the things that I used to do was I used to self-harm. That
Right.
was my way of coping. And I was I was so ashamed for so long. I was ashamed for not speaking my mind, or not saying something, or not being able to help others, or whatever I was going through. Back then, I didn't have the tools to be able to identify the emotions and figure out what they were and then be able to act on them or process them. Now, now that I'm telling my story, I wish I was able to do this then, because I wouldn't have felt so alone and I wouldn't have been in the darkness for so long. I would have been able to, share some of the burden, and I would have had friends to be able to support me and help me through things and help me just see different perspectives, to be able to realize that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because it was so dark. To just share, be
Find it.
open, be authentic,
Find your people.
and be kind.
Be kind.
Be
If we could
kind.
just do that more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you going, Sam? Where are you going now? You finished school. You got
No,
this year. Like, are you done this year? No.
next year. Next
Yeah.
year.
Well, you got two more, but you're done. Are you done? Is it a seasonal thing? Like, are you done for April, or does it go completely for another year?
It
You
just keeps
continue
going.
through.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So
I'm
you're
doing
still doing
online.
it. Oh, you're
Yep.
doing all.
Yep.
So you're
Online.
online.
Yep.
You're
I'm doing
raising
online
two boys.
courses. Yep. I got a
So
husband. He would really like me to spend more time with him.
it's like you're always behind the computer. Well, I'm moving
I
people around.
am.
I'm changing lives.
You know, I feel like I've come to this season of my life where and it sounds kind of horrible, but I've becoming a little bit selfish,
No.
because for so long I put myself on the back burner. I took care of everybody else and tried to make everybody else happy and all of these things, and I put all of my dreams and goals and aspirations to the side, and I don't want to I don't want to hold myself back anymore. I'm ready to spread my wings and fly, and my humminix is I want to rise from the ashes and
Yes.
really prove to the people that your past doesn't have to define you, and that it doesn't matter what age you are, or what age, race, sex, religion, whatever. It doesn't matter. It You can take control of your life and do something. So I'm in school. I have another year left. I was doing my bachelor's in operations management. I have a really strategic mind.
Yeah.
And I was thinking project management. Then I realized that project management is kind of, you have a thing and you have to do it, and there's scope and schedule. And I don't like being contained in boxes. And I feel like running a project, I think their project management, like the leaders in project management, are absolutely incredible. Their leadership skills, their ingenuity, their creativity, all of that, it's incredibly impressive. I just don't think, I think it holds me to, it's too contained for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I started this Crank Up the Leadership with Jeremiah, and him and I are both really passionate about genuine leadership, not not being a boss, not telling people what to do and how to do it and micromanagement and all that other stuff. I'm talking true leadership. Like, see the people, realize what their potential is, lift them up, give them autonomy, show them how to do everything. Don't gatekeep any of the knowledge because out of, fear that they're going to be better than you or go further than you, just lead them. Wherever they go, their success is your success. So just help people, just be good. And
allow them
then
to flourish.
yeah. How does seeing somebody else flourish and grow into what they're supposed to be, how does that make me any less of a person? It doesn't.
We need more leaders like you, Sam. That is exactly it. We're coming out of that box. We are coming out of that box where it's not, you go in and this is your job and this is how you do it. And I'm happy to see people like you, coming out and wanting to lead. I like how you said the project management would confine you. I'm very analytical, very detailed, very process oriented. Yep. And so, but I hear that. I completely understand that because I'm a questioner too. So I
so many questions.
Manager, but I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And we need that.
If I see a problem, I have to solve it.
Exactly. Yeah. Open to all kinds of opportunities, open to hearing other people's suggestions and opinions. And that's where leadership comes in. It's being able to see outside of those confined boxes and allow those people to leaders make good leaders, right? That's the whole point. If we're not making new leaders, we're not doing our jobs.
No.
It's fabulous. I have 3 questions that I ask at the end of a podcast. As much as I'm telling you, I could probably just keep this recording and have another hour conversation with you, but I'm pretty sure you got other things to do. So at the end of the night, being that this is Sunshine and Whiskey, I like to end it with a 3-shot nightcap. So I ask 3 questions, and they're just random questions, fun for you, fun for me to get to know you a little bit more before we close the night off. So the first one I'm going to ask you is, if you could trade places with anyone, who would it be?
Anyone?
Yeah.
That's a great question. It's funny because like when you get asked questions that you're not prepared for, your mind instantly goes blank. So I'm like, who would I change? Who would I switch with?
Put you on the spot. You're like, Superman?
Yeah.
Wonder, like a real person?
I think I would just want to go switch places with one of those people who like live off the grid in like Alaska or something like that. And just like, as much as I love all this social media and all of these things, I crave like authenticity and all of that stuff, and really diving down to who we are at our core. And what better place to do that than by having to do everything yourself.
That's right. And just get to know yourself and have the quietness. I think we do that. We're overstimulated anymore. We don't know how to just be bored and just enjoy quiet. So that's a great one. Good one. So I know my answer to this. Are you a socks or no socks person?
Oh, I'm a no socks person. My husband hates it, but I do socks all the time too. I'm a split.
You are. Yeah.
I'm a split.
So when you go outside, are you in socks, or when you're home and it's cold in the house, you wear socks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Instead of slippers, maybe.
Yeah. He hates me because he's like, you're always walking around with socks, put holes in the bottom of the socks. I'm like, they're just socks.
Yeah, they're holy socks. They're holy socks.
You're
making them better. Would you rather have more time or more money?
More time. I'm not materialistic at all. Money doesn't do anything for me. I want time.
I too. I can relate. Samantha, Sam, this has been an absolute pleasure. I can't tell you. I was worried, I talked to you before I got on here in the gong show that I was having, and I felt so unprepared, but I knew you are so comfortable and you're so genuine and your smile lights up. Let me tell you. So I can't wait to see everything you're doing. You're going to bring wonders. to people. So I am honored to have had an hour to chat with you tonight, and I hope that we get to continue some conversations.
Absolutely. This was my this is my first podcast, so
Yay!
I was nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm so nervous. I do this all the time.
Yeah.
You are such a great host. You really
Thank
are.
you.
You ask
Thank
really
you.
good questions.
Good.
Um, but yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity, and this was so much fun.
Good.
We definitely need to continue these conversations.
You know what? We're going to do it again. We'll do it again when you're like, you know what? I know I'm going to do it again because there's so many things that you're doing that I'm just going to be, and New York's too far. It's too far.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I'll get there and I'll just knock on your door, see what you're up
Yeah.
to. Yeah. Well,
Sounds
thank you.
good.
I want to remind everybody out there to please stay curious, intentional, and kind. Thank you very much. Have a good night.